And I just kept driving to Wilmington. And I called the Fannings and said, give me one more week. I called everyone I knew who could possibly know anyone looking for money. I went to a casting, to meet the casting directors who were going to do the local casting, and told them the story, and they said, oh, you should call Sam. Sam finances films. He's a local guy. Call Sam. And I called Sam, and he loved the project, and he sent it off to his 2 investors, and they were brothers, and one of them read it and said, yeah, this is great. They were going to put half the budget in, which was down to $3.75 million. And, but the brother had to read it, and another week went by, and another week went by. And the 3rd week, the Fanning said, you know, this is it, we're done. I think one of my producers called another one and said, we have to do an intervention and get Deborah out of Wilmington. And, you know, my other producer's like, she's not leaving, we have to get the money. But we ended up, it was the Friday before pre-production was to begin, and I called Sam and I said, look, put $250,000 in the bank, and you get a producer credit whether your investors come in or not. And he said, how about $100,000? I said, yeah. And he put $100,000 in. It was about 2:45, and we started pre-production with $100,000. We continued raising the money week by week, and we were shut down by the union during pre-production for being out of funds for a few days, and we got the more money. We started production. We've been shooting for 4 weeks, and we got shut down by the union for a week. It was very painful that week. We got money, continued shooting. Unfortunately, during that week, I had gotten some investors in who said, you know, they had the money and were going to put it in. But I'd signed a deal where if they didn't put the money in, I could go elsewhere, and they didn't put the money in, and I went elsewhere. Well, they sent a cease and desist notice the last week of shooting to the new investors, who then couldn't put any more money in. So I had to sign my film over to the owners of the camera department. I had to, you know, sign it over to the Teamsters. It was put in a vault, and I had to give my film to them until they were paid off, just to get the camera truck the last day on set. And then the day before we finished shooting, the finder of the investors who came in wanted his money then, and they didn't have it because we didn't have enough to finish the film. And he said, look, give me my money now and my producer credit now, or I'm going to the press. And they should have said, no problem, we'll take care of it, but they essentially said, F you, and he went to the press and leaked this very sensationalized story to get his name in as a producer. And that's when it all started going crazy. I actually, unfortunately, had not a very good lawyer at the time who had me sign different contracts that put me in breach of other contracts. So I had investors fighting over the film, trying to take it away from me. I heard they were seizing the editing equipment. And so one of my producers sold her car, called the company that rented us the Avid, and convinced them to let the investors know they had gotten the Avid, and she paid them off so that we could continue working under a different company name, and we edited underground until we got into Sundance, at which point I bring all the different factions to the table and get them on board so that we could all, you know, get the money in and finish the film to get it to Sundance. And then all the controversy at Sundance, the death threats and the petitions to have, you know, me arrested for child pornography, and Dakota's mother arrested. And at a certain point, it's such a long story, but I'll tell one more little piece of it and then I'll move on. But at a certain point, I decided to sort of face it head on, and I called the district attorney in Wilmington, North Carolina, where if there were to be some kind of legal action taken, it would come out of Wilmington where we shot it. And I asked if we could bring the film down for them to look at, and they said absolutely. They ended up doing a full investigation. They interviewed the crew and the cast. They watched the film, and I took down the roughest version I could possibly take, and you know, the roughest rape I could, and there's not that much, I just have her face to work with. But I took everything that could possibly be offensive or illegal and screened it for them. And afterwards they put in writing that they would not prosecute the film. There was nothing illegal. They would not prosecute the filmmakers or anyone involved. And then they thanked me for making the film, and they thanked me for showing it to them. They said because they prosecute the real thing every single day. In fact, the week before, they had just convicted a man for impregnating his 10-year-old daughter, and this was in the newspapers. They didn't get one single phone call about that, but they got 10 to 20 phone calls a day to have my film prosecuted. And I think that is just so, such a sort of mirror to this a very disturbing phenomenon that's going on around this film and also in this country in terms of